General, I see you're getting your exhibits in order. Do you need a couple minutes? All right. General, Mr. Stevens, you good? Bring them on in. Officer, you can stand right here against that wall and let the bureau slide by you there. Get this thing kind of close to your mouth because this is really screening everybody off. So if it doesn't pick up through that, we're not here. Okay.
Judge, on the photographs that we just published, there were a couple that were left out of the stack that we have, and when we have our lunch break, I'm going to include them to make sure it matches up with what was published. And
I got you.
Court reported.
All right, yeah. And hopefully we're still right on our numbers. We can fudge that if we need to. Okay. We'll figure it out and clean that. All right, go ahead and bring them in. Folks, please rise for our jury.
Are you going to have an objection to their...
Welcome back, folks. Thank you for that break. We're ready to resume the state's proof. General, please call your next witness.
Sir, we call Brad Park.
Would you please raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in the case now on trial will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, help you God? Please have a seat, sir. Speak in the microphone. Once you're seated, you may remove your mask.
Your Honor, as a preliminary matter, I think we've come to an agreement as to a stipulation as to the expertise of Brad Park as a latent fingerprint examiner.
All right. If you could state your name, sir.
Brad Park.
And who you work for?
I am currently retired.
Who did you work for?
Knox County Sheriff's Office.
And you work in forensics, including fingerprints, correct?
Yes, sir.
Does the defense stipulate that Mr. Park is an expert in the area of latent print examination? Is that what I call it?
Fingerprint examination, yes, sir.
Yes, Your
Honor. Folks, the court is going to recognize Mr. Park as an expert in the area of latent print examinations. And what it means when the court recognizes a witness as an expert, that allows that witness to render their opinion within their area of expertise. Now, just because an expert witness has rendered their opinion does not mean that you are bound to accept it. Just like every other witness, it's your job to determine the weight and credibility to be given to his testimony, but he is considered to be an expert, and so he may render his opinion. You may continue.
Thank you. Tell us your name, sir.
Brad Park.
And at some point, recently, were you employed by the Knox County Sheriff's Department?
Yes, sir.
And how long did you work for the Sheriff's Department?
Approximately 24 and a half years.
And what assignments did you have over your course of your 24-year career?
When I was first hired, I started in corrections. I was a fingerprint officer in booking. I was then transferred to the then crime scene unit. Went to patrol for several months. I came back to the forensics unit and there until my retirement of last year.
I want to talk to you about November the 28th, 29th, and 30th of 2016. Do you recall working 11434 Golden View Lane on those dates, sir?
Yes, sir.
And what did you do with regard to the crime scene at 11434 Golden View Lane?
My responsibilities were initially to supervise the personnel, to evaluate the scene, resources that we need, all the aspects of processing to make sure it was done the most efficient way, in addition to actually helping process myself.
Okay. And in regard to helping process yourself, did you have cause to lift a palm print from the upstairs guest bathroom?
Yes, sir.
you, sir, what's been pre-marked as State's Exhibit 458 and ask if you recognize that document, sir.
It's an image that that Officer Finch has scanned in to the AFIC system in the responding match. This is not the actual latent card that I submitted to Officer Finch.
Is that an image of the latent card that you submitted to Officer Finch?
It appears to be, yes, sir.
Okay. And if you would describe the process of lifting a latent print, particularly from a sink, and how you achieve that.
A latent print is one, it's a print left by your hand, fingers, palms, that's not readily visible at the time. It is a pattern of oil, moisture, grease that you exude from the pores of your skin. You apply fingerprint powder, which is a very fine volcanic ash, and that powder adheres to the ridges where the moisture is or has been left by your fingers or your palms. The powder becomes visible. The pattern, you know, or you assume, you evaluate if it is a fingerprint of value to lift. When you decide that it is, we use lifting tape. Very cautiously, you lay it on the print. It adheres, the adhesiveness sticks to the surface with the print, and you gently peel the tape off whatever surface you're printing. And that gives you the image of the latent print that is now visible, and that's preserved on a latent print card.
And then when you're comparing a latent print to an identified individual, what's the process you go through for that, sir?
Again, Officer Finch was our fingerprint officer, myself as an auxiliary. He would evaluate the latents in any case given to him if it had enough information, pattern, ridge detail, and if he chose that it is of value, we have two different fingerprint systems with the agency. He scans those in. He tells the computer, gives it information as to the pattern, if it's a whorl, if it's a loop. He specifically marks individual minutia points, which are individual characteristics on that latent print. Gives it the most information that you can determine, and you submit it for search. And the database contains hundreds of thousands of fingerprints that Knox County possess through all the agencies when people are booked into our jail, in addition to the database of the FBI. It searches, it tells the operator, and gives a respondent. Sometimes they're 9, sometimes they're 12. That respondent list can be filtered, and that is what the computer thinks its most probable match. It's the operator's responsibility to go through each one and to either verify or eliminate that print. And it could be the first respondent. It could not be any of them. You keep searching until you exhausted all measures.
Okay, and fingerprints that are maintained in the FBI database, for example, the simple reason that the FBI has your fingerprint, does that automatically mean you've been in trouble, or does the FBI maintain those for other purposes as well?
There are many purposes. Criminal, military, law enforcement, missing persons, background checks. They compile for any reason that anyone needs to be fingerprinted. They maintain that.
And with regard to lifting any prints in this case, is this the only print that you lifted from the crime scene, sir?
I lifted 2.
Okay. Now, at this point, we move Exhibit 458 into evidence.
Any objection? No, Your Honor. Exhibit 458.
And as the supervising officer in the forensic unit, once a fingerprint is developed, latent fingerprints are analyzed. You then have the responsibility to verify the officer's findings as to each individual print.
Yes, sir.
And did you do that in this case, sir?
Yes, sir.
Direct your attention to the overview board, if you could tell us what we're looking at, sir.
I'm sorry?
Direct your attention to the board, if you could tell us what we're looking at, sir.
We are looking at a comparison of the latent print versus the known print, palm print that is in the system.
And you say the known palm print, whose palm print are we looking at to the right, sir?
The Joel Guy Jr.
Pass the picture.
Cross-examination.
Sorry, I'm Mark Stevens. There were a few things I didn't understand that you were saying. This FBI database of prints includes more than people who have prior records, right?
Yes, sir.
And do you know when you get a print like the one you compared, do you know which database it comes from?
I don't, unless he gives it specific parameters to search that or a special request. Typically, it is the criminalistic side, the people have been arrested, unless it's specifically asked for an additional database.
So are you telling the ladies and gentlemen of this jury that Joel Guy had been in the system prior because of some prior criminal activity?
That I do not know for certain.
Right.
Officer Finch was the one operating and retrieved that print from the system.
And when he retrieves a print, when he gets a possible match, does it indicate the database that it comes from?
I do not, to my knowledge, it doesn't.
Okay. And so do you know the total number of prints in the FBI database?
No, sir.
And then obviously then you don't know which percentage of the total is based on prior criminal history.
No, sir.
Thank you.
Redirect.
Nothing.
Thank you, sir. You may step down. Next witness.
Tom Finch, sir.
Please raise your right hand. You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony about to give in the case now on trial will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please have a seat, sir. Once you're seated, be made to your right.
Tell us your name, sir,
Thomas Finch.
and by whom are you employed?
I'm retired from the sheriff's office.
Okay, and how long did you work with the sheriff's department?
28 years.
And when you say sheriff's department, it's the Knox County Sheriff's Department?
Yes.
And what roles did you hold over the course of your 28-year career with the sheriff's department?
I worked in jail for the first 5 or so. Worked on the task force for a couple months. Worked in narcotics for almost 2 years and did over 20 years in crime scene.
Okay, and what type of training did you receive in your time in the crime scene unit?
As far as latent prints go, the basic FBI classification school, latent print development techniques, latent print identification school, advanced palm print identification school, FBI photography school, and the National Forensic Academy. And the last training I had was the Universal Latent Workstation training at the FBI.
And beyond the latent fingerprint training that you've undergone, have you also undergone training on processing crime scenes, working in the forensics?
Yes.
And I want to talk to you about November of 2016. Did you have cause to respond to 11434 Golden View Lane here in Knox County, Tennessee?
Yes, I did.
And did you assist in collecting physical evidence from that crime scene as well as searching for latent fingerprints?
Yes.
Sir, in the course of collecting physical evidence, did you have cause to collect a USMC K-bar knife
Yes.
and 6 spacers from the upstairs guest bathroom?
Yes. No. Thank you, sir.
I'll show you what's been pre-marked as State's Exhibit 459 for identification and ask you if you recognize that package, sir.
Yes.
And if you would describe to the members of the jury what it is, and if you wouldn't mind speaking to the microphone just because we have jurors out back.
It's a 1 USMC knife and 6 spacers.
Okay, and if you could break the seal on that, sir. I ask if you could hold that up and describe what we have.
It's a USMC knife with stains on it.
Hold it up, sir. You kind of show it so that the people in the back can see it. All right, thank you, sir.
Okay.
You gotta remove that in as State's Exhibit 459. You also have cause to collect 2 knives from the exercise room in the upstairs of 11434 Golden View Lane.
Yes.
about a labeled knife, Victorinox kitchen knife from the hallway, sir. Do you have cause to confiscate that knife as well?
Yes.
Show you what's been pre-marked as State's Exhibit 460. For identification, I ask you if you recognize that package, sir.
Yes.
And what is that package?
It's one Victorinox kitchen knife.
I should break the seal on that.
Okay. Okay.
Hold that up and show it to the members of the jury. Okay, thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Move that into State's Exhibit 460.
Next one will be 460.
Sir, with regard to the USMC knife with KR identifiers on it and 6 spacers, did you take swabs of that knife, sir?
Yes, I did.
And explain to the members of the jury the process you undergo in taking swabs of a piece of evidence.
Take basically a Q-tip, put a little distilled water on it, and collect whatever stain is on there, let it dry, seal it in a bag, send it off to the lab for testing.
And when you say send it to the lab, is that the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation?
Yes.
Sure, you would have been pre-marked as State's Exhibits 461, 462, and 463 for identification, and ask you if you can identify what those packages are.
Yes. Swabs taken from knife blade, swabs taken from the knife handle, and swabs taken from the end of the knife.
And for clarification, is that all for the USMC brand knife?
Yes.
And we move those in as State's Exhibits 463, 64, or 62, 63, and 61.
Without further objection, will be 461 and 463.
One of the other knives from the exercise room, you recall confiscating 2 knives from that room, sir.
Yes.
Next, I'm going to show you what's been pre-marked as State's Exhibit 464 for identification, and ask you if you recognize that package.
Yes.
If you would, tell us what it is, sir.
It's one stainless steel kitchen knife.
If you break the seal on it. swabs that were tested for the knife that we just looked at?
Yes.
Your Honor, if I have not done so yet, I'll move in previous exhibit 464.
Without hearing an objection, it will be 460.
Next, I'm going to show you what's been pre-marked as State's Exhibits 465 and 466 for identification, and ask you if you recognize those packages.
Yes.
And what are they, sir?
They're swabs from the stainless steel knife and from the other knife. I don't have the list in front of me of which knife it came from.
Did they come from the previous knife that you just examined?
This one did.
Okay. Put this one in. So at this point, we move in 465 into evidence.
Without objection, it will be 465.
And is this a swab that you collected as well, sir?
Yes.
From a knife?
Yes.
And if you could refer to your notes to tell us where it came from, sir.
The Victoria Knox kitchen knife.
And would that correspond with Exhibit 459?
Yes.
Now, we move that in as State's Exhibit 466.
Without objection, it will be 466.
Sir, did you also have cause to collect a collection of gloves from the guest bathroom in the upstairs?
Yes.
First, show you what's been pre-marked as State's Exhibit 467, sir. Ask if you recognize that package.
Yes.
All right, I think you don't have to open that. That's a
Okay.
biohazard. You can just describe what the contents are.
Multiple blue gloves, one blue round brush, several pieces of toilet paper with staining, and a Renew saline contact case.
You know, those items that you subsequently tested for the presence of DNA.
Yes.
We move that in as State's Exhibit 467.
Without objection, it will be 467.
Next, I want to show you what have been pre-marked as State's Exhibits 468, 469, and 470 for identification, and ask you if you recognize those packages,
Yes.
and if you would tell us what they are, sir.
Swabs from the front right top of item KK. Swabs from a glove in a hallway bathroom, and swabs from swabs from gloves in the hallway bathroom.
Okay, can you tell us what item KK is, sir?
It's the bag I just examined.
Okay, thanks, sir. Your Honor, we move these in as State's Exhibits 468, 469, and 470.
Without objection, it will be 468 to 470.
And sir, with regard to the last exhibit that we just entered, that being Exhibit 467, item 97, sir. Can you tell us what else is in that bag beyond the gloves?
One blue round brush, several pieces of toilet paper with staining, renewed saline, contact case, medical tape packaging, Aveeno lotion, 2 Ziploc bags, multiple blue disposable gloves, Charmin wet wipes, and multiple pieces of medical tape.
And that's all enclosed in the last exhibit?
Yes.
And those are pieces of items that you analyzed for presence of DNA?
Yes.
And sir, did you also have cause to collect fingernail clippings from Joel Guy Sr. From his right and left hand?
Yes.
Where did you collect those from, sir?
The medical examiner's office.
I'm showing you what's been pre-marked as State's Exhibits 471, 472. These are marked for identification. I'll hand them to you and ask you if you recognize those packages, sir.
Yes.
And if you could tell us what they are.
Right nail clippings of the victim and left nail clippings of the victim, Joe Guy Sr.
Now at this point, we move in State's Exhibits 471 and 472.
That objection will be 471 and 472.
Sir, with regard to the upstairs bathroom, did you also have cause to examine and collect 2 gray Under Armour underpants, shorts, 2 Banana Republic underwear, and 2 white T-shirts?
Yes.
Show you what's been pre-marked as State's Exhibit 473 for identification. Ask you if you recognize that package, sir.
Yes, sir.
And what is it, sir?
It contains 2 gray Under Armour, 2 gray Banana Republic underwear, and 2 white T-shirts.
Your Honor, if I have not yet, I would move that in the State's Exhibit 473.
Without objection, will be 473.
Sir, also in the upstairs bathroom, guest bathroom, at 11434 Golden View Lane, you have cause to confiscate a black and color Samsung Galaxy S5 cell phone.
Yes.
Showing you what's been pre-marked as State's Exhibit 474 for identification. I'm going to hand you this and ask you if you recognize that package, sir.
Yes.
And what is inside the package?
The Samsung Galaxy S5 cell phone.
And is that something that you confiscated on the crime scene?
Yes.
We move that in as State's Exhibit 474.
Without objection, will be 474. Again, folks, I remind you, it's the physical phone that is in evidence at this point, not the electronic content. So you can examine the phone, you just can't turn it on and go searching through it. You may continue.
And also in the upstairs guest bathroom at 11434 Golden View Lane, you have cause to confiscate a plastic Walmart bag with red skin potato salad, bacitracin, zinc ointment, and 1 sock.
Yes.
Again, I'll show you what's been pre-marked as State's Exhibit 475 for identification. I'd ask you if you recognize that package, sir.
Yes.
And what is inside the package?
So one plastic Walmart bag with red skin potato salad, one bacitration zinc ointment, USP, and one sock.
We'd move that in as State's Exhibit 475.
475.
Sir, do you also, from the same bathroom, have cause to confiscate a roll of first aid tape labeled with Equate and antibiotic dermoplast pain relieving spray?
Yes.
I'm going to hand you what's been pre-marked as State's Exhibit 476 for identification and ask you if you recognize that package, sir.
Yes.
If you would, tell us what's inside the package.
One roll of first aid tape, Equate triple antibiotic lotion, dermoplast pain relieving, antibacterial spray.
Is that items that you collected from the guest bathroom?
Yes.
And we've moved that in as State's Exhibit 476.
476.
All right, sir, now we'll move on beyond the physical collection of evidence and talk to you about what, if anything, you did with regard to latent fingerprint examination. Did you have cause to attempt and subsequently lift fingerprints from within the residence at 11434 Golden View Lane?
Yes, I did.
Your Honor, at this point, I believe the defense and prosecution have agreed that Tom Finch is an expert in the field of latent fingerprint examination.
Does the defense stipulate?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, folks, so once again, the court is going to recognize Mr. Finch as an expert in the area of latent print examinations. That allows him to render his opinion within that area of expertise. Also, once again, just because an expert witness renders their opinion does not mean that you are bound to accept it. Just like every other witness, it's your job to judge the weight and credibility to be given to his testimony. But since he is deemed an expert, he may render his opinion. You may continue.
Mr. Finch, sir, I want to ask you, with regard to attempting to lift latent fingerprints from various places within the residence, tell the members of the jury what effort you took to gather fingerprints, sir.
First, I did a visual inspection using natural light, flashlights. Then, if it's depending on the surface, either plain black powder or magnetic powder to develop the latent fingerprint.
And when you're doing your first visual examination, are you looking for surfaces that you believe, as a latent print examiner, a print would adhere, such as a window or something with a surface where you'd be able to see one?
Correct.
Okay.
Usually a non-porous surface such as glass or plastic.
Okay. And were you able to retrieve any fingerprints from within the residence?
I developed two on bottles that Officer Burnett lifted, but they were inconclusive.
Okay. And did you have any prints in the course of your examination that were conclusive belonging to Joel Michael Guy, Jr.?
That I lifted in the lab, yes.
Okay. And if you would explain to the members of the jury the process that you underwent in obtaining that print and what you subsequently did to make a positive identification.
In the first particular case, I developed it with black powder, lifted 2 prints, and took them in and entered them into AFIS, the Automated Fingerprint Identification System, and got a response back.
Okay. And where were those prints lifted from, sir?
That was from a glove box and, the Clorox glove package.
Okay. And the second print?
The second print was actually on the same card. It was a double impression where the individual had touched it twice in almost the exact same place.
Okay. So the only viable print you were able to lift, positively matching Joel Michael Guy Jr., was from a Clorox package?
No, that's the only 2 that I entered into AFIS. The rest were manual comparisons.
Okay. So how many fingerprints in total, just so we understand clearly, were you able to positively identify Joel Michael Guy Jr. As the owner of those prints?
6.
Starting with the Clorox package, tell us what you did in order to come to the conclusion that the fingerprint belonged to the defendant, Joel Michael Guy Jr.
First thing you examine is ridge flow pattern. Then you start looking for individual points, such as ridge endings or bifurcations that are spatially related on both prints. In other words, you can't have a ridge count of 2 between 2 points on one print and a ridge count of 3 on the other print.
Okay. And when you're doing this analysis, do you have a side-by-side comparison, sir?
Yes.
Show you what's been pre-marked as State's Exhibit 477 for identification. Ask you if you recognize that document, sir.
Yes.
And if you would describe what that is, sir.
It is the latent on the left side and the left thumb of Joel Michael Guy on the right side.
We move that in as State's Exhibit 477. Ask to publish.
Objection.
Hang on.
477.
Thank you, Your Honor. Fine. Okay, sir. Directing your attention to the board. I believe there's a lady there that will assist in the testimony, but explain to the members of the jury what we are looking at and how you want to vote your comparison for this particular print.
Okay. Once again, the latent print is on the left-hand side. The known print is on the right side. All the little green dots you see are corresponding.
And if I could ask you just to speak right into that microphone, just so everyone in the courtroom can hear. Thanks, sir.
All the green dots represent corresponding ridge endings and bifurcations that are consistent on both prints as having come from the same source.
And you spoke about ridges and other expressions that you use in your expertise. Are those apparent in that in those pictures, sir?
Yeah, ridge ending is just a fingerprint ridge like that one that just ends. A bifurcation is where one ridge ending or one ridge breaks off into two, or two comes together as one, however you want to look at it.
And are there any other characteristics of both prints that you took into account when coming to the conclusion that they were of the same person?
Yes. Well, once again, you look at the pattern. Both prints are whorls, which that's the core. Ridge flow is the same. Everything. There's nothing anomalous from one print to the other that would rule it out.
And do you have an opinion as a latent fingerprint examiner as to whether the print obtained on the left-hand side from the crime scene to the standard of Joel Guy Jr. Is the same print, sir?
Yeah, they both came from the same source.
Okay.
And this is the latent print from the Clorox package.
Yes, sir.
With regard to other fingerprints lifted, where was another location that you were able to obtain fingerprints that you were then able to analyze?
Sharman pack. It was labeled KK.
Okay.
A tape package from KK. A box of gloves from the dresser and upstairs guest bedroom, which is W in the sketch, and a latent palm print turned in by Captain Park.
And if we start with the Sharman wet wipe, and then we'll go through each of those after, but focusing on the Sharman wet wipe bag. Show you what's been pre-marked as State's Exhibit 478 for identification. Ask you if you recognize that document, sir.
Yes.
And what is it?
It's a fingerprint from a tape pack in item KK.
At this point, we move in State's Exhibit 478 and ask to publish.
Without objection, the 478 opposed. Did you say a tape pack?
Yes. Which is item 97.
You're directing your attention to the screen. You can tell us what you did with regard to this process.
Okay. Once again, look at the pattern, which this is a tinted arch. You look at ridge flow, and then you start looking at the individual points.
And based on your examination, you ultimately have an opinion as to whose fingerprint is on the left side, which is taken from the crime scene, versus standard belong to Joel Michael Guy Jr.
Yes, they both come from the same source.
Did you also have cause to take a fingerprint from a VWR latex glove box from the guest bedroom?
Yes.
Approach, sir, and show you what's been pre-marked as State's Exhibit 479 for identification, sir, and ask if you recognize that document,
Yes.
and if you could describe what it is.
It's a latent print side by side with a known print of Joe Guy.
And is that a fair and accurate copy of what you provided?
Yes.
In this case. At this point, we move in State's Exhibit 479.
Objection to 479.
Would that propose? Sir, direct your attention to the board. If you could explain what are these pictures, sir?
This is the delta area of a fingerprint. The latent fingerprint on the left and the known print on the right. It's an enlargement of a small area.
And what finger is this print from?
That was the right middle finger of the known print.
Again, this is from the glove box in the guest bedroom.
Yes.
And based on your examination, do you have an opinion as to the left print versus the right print?
They both came from the same source,
And the source being
Joe Michael Guy.
Junior?
Yes.
Next, I'm going to show you what's been pre-marked as State's Exhibit 480 for identification. Ask if you recognize that, sir.
Yes, this is from a tape pack.
And where was that tape pack ultimately within the residence?
That was item KK. I believe that was the bathroom,
Is that
the guest bathroom.
item KK correspond to item number 97? Excuse me.
Back to my notes real quick. Yes.
The piece of evidence that you examined is within this bag.
Yes.
At this point, Your Honor, we move that in as State's Exhibit 480.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor. I'm going to ask published. start directing your attention to the overhead, if you could describe these pictures, sir.
Yes, once again, on the left-hand side is the latent fingerprint. The right-hand side is the known print. Both are tinted arches, and all the visible minutia points that you can see are the same.
And based on your examination, do you have an opinion as to the left print lifted from the crime scene versus the right print from the known standard of Joel Michael Guy Jr.?
Both came from the same source,
And the source being?
Joel Michael Guy Jr.
Before you move on, Joe, I just need to get some clarification from the defense. So 478 we said was a latent print from the tape pack, and 480 as well. Were there two latent prints from the same tape pack?
I believe that was the same latent fingerprint.
So it was one print. We just
Yes.
looked at it twice.
Yes.
Okay.
Sir, in the course of obtaining the fingerprints, did you also document through photos where those prints were taken from?
Yes.
These would be 30 additional.
481 to 510.
I'm going to show you this is going to be pre-marked as State's Exhibits 481 through 510, sir. I'm not going to ask you right now to identify them all individually, but if you could thumb through those and tell me whether or not you recognize those photos.
Yes.
And what are they, sir?
Pictures of partial latent prints on different items.
Those are fair and accurate copy of the pictures you took with regard to where you captured fingerprints.
Yes.
We moved in State's Exhibits 481 through 510 and asked to publish.
Objection. 481 through 510. You may publish.
Okay, sir. First photo. What's in the first photo, sir?
Oh, a drinking glass.
Next picture.
It's a different angle of the same drinking glass. The drinking glass with a scale in it. That's a package of the Charmin wipes.
And were you ultimately able to obtain a print from the Charmin wipes?
Yes. It's the same Charmin wipes. It's an intermediate shot, and that's the latent fingerprint on the bottom edge of the Charmin wipes.
And directing your attention to the actual latent fingerprint, or what appears to be one, is this the volcanic ash that has been applied?
Yes, it's plain black powder.
Next photo.
That's the tape pack.
And were you ultimately able to obtain a fingerprint from the tape pack?
Yes. So that's an intermediate shot of the tape pack. And that's the partial latent fingerprint on on the tape pack.
And again, the same method using this photo, using the volcanic ash?
Yes. I'd say close up.
All right. A little blurry, but next photo, sir.
That's a kitchen knife, stainless steel kitchen knife. Same kitchen knife with the scale. Same kitchen knife with close up of where the print is. And the print was a scale.
And were you ultimately able to obtain a fingerprint from the blade of the knife, sir?
Yes. I don't believe I was able to match it, though.
Would you call that in your field inconclusive?
Yes. That's the glove box.
And were you ultimately able to obtain a print from the VWR glove box?
Yes. That's the underside of the glove box. The close-up of where the fingerprint was located. It's the same glove box, just
Fingerprints. Analysis by that occur in this case. I want to ask you about based on your training and experience, if someone was wearing gloves, would that reduce the likelihood of you obtaining prints on a crime scene?
yes.
Next, sir, did you have cause to create crime scene diagrams in this case?
Yes.
We'll show you what's been pre-marked as State's Exhibit 511 for identification. Ask you to thumb through that and let us know what it is.
It's a sketch of the upstairs of the residence on Golden View and the sketch cube to go along with it.
Does that include every room in the upstairs of 11434 Golden View Lane?
Yes.
And the accompanying key as to what is where in terms of placards and physical evidence?
Correct.
Your Honor, at this point, we move that into evidence.
Can I just see what, I think we showed it to Mr. Speaker.
Without hearing objection, I'll do 511, you may publish.
Okay, sir, starting with the master, or the kind of overall day, kind of explain what's going on here, sir.
Okay. Excuse me. Pardon me here. As you come up the steps, you come to the hallway, the master bedroom is at the top. Master bath next to it. It's a guest room, storage room, laundry, bathroom, and exercise room.
Okay, just for clarification, can you kind of put where the stairs would be in this picture?
This might be easier if you take this on the
Okay.
touch screen there.
Yeah. Right in this corner.
And hit that green
Yeah.
top left here with your finger. And then hit clear down the bottom left.
Okay.
Okay, and the diagram of the hallway, sir?
Yes. So that's the stairs coming up, the door to master bedroom and the guest bedroom.
And the exercise room, where would that be, sir?
That'd be right there.
And the A, B, C, D, and E, sir, because it goes there.
Item 47 is in the area of A. There were so many items that we were going to collect, we had to use an area instead of an actual individual item. That was 2 black Nike tennis shoes with staining and a king cast iron. It's like a doorstop type deal.
Okay. And B, C, D, and E.
Item B was item 50, empty bottles of Robic crystal drain opener and 1 empty number 2 sewer line cleaner. There's also item 53, which was 1 empty number 2 sewer line cleaner. Item C, or placard C, was item 51. It's a Kosh Messer stainless steel kitchen knife. Item D was item 52, which was 2 empty containers of number 2 sewer line cleaner. Item E was item 54, 1 pair of universal scissors.
Moving on to the master bedroom, sir.
Item F on the left-hand side of the screen was 2 black trash bags. Item G was item 56, empty Clorox glove packaging and 1 gray cloth bag.
Let me ask you, sir, Mr. Finch, are these the placards that would have been shown in photographs where they're physically?
Yes.
Okay. And I think that we've already seen that, so there's no reason to kind of go through each of them, but I just want to kind of establish that this is a sketch of the master bedroom, right?
Yes.
Moving on to the master bathroom. And if you could describe kind of what's in this bathroom.
Okay. The bathtub, toilet, the sink and vanity, and 2 large plastic tubs.
In the guest bedroom, sir?
Bed, I believe a dresser, and a nightstand.
Front storage room?
I can't remember what those 2 items were on the, I don't know, I can't remember if they were dressers or boxes.
In the upstairs guest bathroom, sir?
The bathtub, toilet, and the sink.
The laundry room?
That was the,
And lastly, exercise room?
it was a exercise machine. I believe there was without referring to the picture, I can't remember what these items were.
And does your sketch of the exercise room denote that the exercise machine is on its side?
Yes.
Pass the image.
Cross-examination.
These are
I have just a couple of questions. Now, when I touch a surface, it can leave a print, right?
Yes.
And depending on how porous the surface is, you might be able to collect that print.
Correct.
How long that print stays depends on what might interact with it. If the print's outside, is it going to be rained on, right?
Correct.
If it's inside, something like this, it depends on when that surface is going to be touched by someone else
Correct.
or cleaned or anything like that.
Yes.
So when a print is left, you don't really know how long it's been there. Is that right?
Correct.
And a couple of the matches, it looks like you only had 8 points of identification.
Correct.
Others you had more, but on a couple you only had a few points of identification. Thank you, that's all.
just one question. Can heat play a role in whether or not the fingerprints are preserved?
I missed part of the.
Can heat play a role as to whether or not fingerprints are preserved?
It would depend on the type of heat and the other environmental conditions, humidity.
Heat in levels above 90 degrees?
I've seen the fingerprints baked on the surface when left in sunlight.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
All right, folks, that takes us to lunchtime. We're going to go ahead and break. Your lunch should be here in just a moment. Once again, do not discuss this case among yourselves or with anyone else. Please avoid all media coverage about this case or social media as well, too. At this time, you may go to the offices. You can leave your notebooks in your chairs. I'll see you after lunch.